Hello and welcome to the show. Now, over the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about publications and the diversity that they create when it comes to Islamic media especially, and one of those publications is Modest Muse. Mushra Hartley is here. She's with Media 24 and she's the publishing manager. Have I got that right, Mushra?
Yes, you've got it right.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Faizal. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Now, I recall a couple of weeks ago you coming and talking about the publication to us, and my first thoughts was when I chatted to you was that we are in dire need of this what you're doing, and that was because we needed to create media diversity. We needed to fill a gap, and Muslim women in specifically, they needed a space to be filled within intellectual capacities that revolve around media. They needed more. I feel that they're not getting enough of that, and you filling that gap, and Modest Muse is now there. Tell us about where did it all start and why? I understand why, but I needed to understand from you why.
Firstly, I'm not filling the gap completely as yet, but it's a starting point. Modest Muse started 2 years ago as a mobile magazine, and we've generated a nice international following. We've got 10 content pillars. They include fashion, beauty, cooking, Sunnah practices, a Quranic verse of the day. So it's all Islamic lifestyle content, and we've now taken that content and realized that there's a gap to fill within the print media space. And so we've taken that content and put it in a tabloid publication that's going to be printed every 2 weeks. That is printed every 2 weeks, sorry.
So effectively, you're saying that the online version plays its role, but it cannot fully play a role because not everybody's online. We might live in a very online space because of what we do and maybe the age bracket and maybe the society that we find ourselves in, but a large part of our people are not online. My mother, for instance, would love to read many things, and she needs to grab newspapers as they come along. So you fill that gap.
We've looked at analytics, Faizal, and we saw even though smartphone penetration is picking up in South Africa and that Modest Muse is being read mostly on smartphones, like you say, there are a lot of women that aren't reading this type of content on their smartphones. They use these devices for other things. And also, I think we're still a very content-starved people, and we like things printed. I mean, there are books and little surahs that are still handed out, yasins that people keep in their handbags. So we like something tangible in our hands to page through. So we are still a very print people, and we haven't had something print to evolve to digital from. So this Modest Muse is kind of working backwards. There was the mobile magazine. We tested the market. We saw that there was a market for it, but that print gap was still there.
Do you feel that your place within the publication, being the person that conceptualized most of that, do you believe that this was something that you wanted to do for a long time, or were there other issues that came up that just made this happen? Because normally anybody that's going out there putting a publication of this nature should have had a natural inclination to want to create that sort of change and want to create that sort of contribution to society.
It's been an evolution, Faizal. Besides me wanting to do this for a long time, the idea sparked when I got married, and I realized that I was looking online for advice.
So I had another thought going through my head. So you're getting married, you feel you had another voice, so let's go for a newspaper. It's like
it started when I got married, so I was looking for advice on marriage, on things that I was maybe too uncomfortable to ask my friends or my parents about, and I was looking online, and I wasn't always getting the correct information. And sometimes I'm talking about simple things. Cooking, wife's responsibility, childbirth, breastfeeding, that type of thing. I was looking for that information and I wasn't finding it. Besides that information, I also started dressing differently, and I was looking for how to adapt Western fashion to hijab, and looking towards international celebrities like your Deen at Tokyo, your Yaz the Spaz, looking toward them for advice. And then I realized, why don't we have that here? Why aren't there celebrities over here? Why aren't those fashion bloggers here? Why aren't there foodies here that I can turn to? And I thought,
Because society needs it.
yes,
Whether we like it or not, but if we don't put the correct role models around that are pushing out the correct messages, they're going to follow somebody else.
Yes.
It's as simple as that.
definitely. So I thought about creating collaborations with phenomenal, and there are so much phenomenal women around us that just don't have a platform to showcase their work or their talents. And this is where the idea for the magazine, online magazine, started.
So you under a big brand, and that's Media 24. And I'm still trying to come to terms with the aspect of all of this. And if I may ask, did you have any challenges with proposing that to Media 24? Because we normally see these media houses and the size that they are, we tend to have issues with regards to many people don't understand Islam, for example. And we have that challenge around the world right now. While the rest of the world in the West is saying that Islam is this, that, and the other color, and all the stigma that's going around with all of that, you come along to a publishing house that is generally not Islamically driven, and you propose this, and the answer is yes, and you're doing it. I find it amazing. Is that a sign of the diversity of South African society? Because it's interesting.
I think generally Media 24 is very transformational, very innovative. So when I pitched the idea 2 years ago, it was initially for a glossy monthly magazine. I wanted to see Modest Muse magazine next to the Cosmo and the Glamour on your shelves in the retail stores. We then did some analysis and looked and saw that print publications are declining. Women are buying these magazines less. It's a kind of a luxury item, and they don't commit to buying it every month. So, and we looked at online trends, so we decided to launch this online. But I must say, pitching the idea, on the day it was pitched, the CEO of Media 24 said, "Go ahead and do this, and put your whole heart into it." And 2 years later, we're going to print. So, in terms of challenges, I've only been cheered on and supported.
That's excellent. So we're looking at the publication being an initial 12, 14 page, I think?
12 pages
12
initially.
pages.
Yes.
What do people expect to see? What's the highlights, and what makes it different from any of the other publications out there?
Each page is dedicated to a section. We've got a section called We Like. We've got that will focus on travel, design. We've got a section for beauty and fashion. We've got a section for having your say, putting your voice out there. We've got a section that celebrates a unique woman that's doing wonderful things in the community or in business. So what makes this publication unique is that it's a platform for women, and it's not only me contributing the stories. I've got 20 contributing writers, and it's growing. I've got ladies writing in their stories and their questions every day. So it's for Muslim women by Muslim women.
So essentially you've got a cross-section of things happening in there and lots of information. The look and feel. I think that we have become tired of the normal look and feel of newspapers we're receiving in the community. My personal take is that, and I'm happy to hear this, but they're very political and they're very bent on the past. And I feel that this is a new generation of South Africans. We don't want to forget the past, but we build on them to move forward. But we cannot linger too much in the past. And so, is that different in your paper? Are we looking for a fresh, positive, forward-going, forward-thinking approach? Instead of writing a history book every week or every month, whatever it might be.
Definitely, Faizal. Modest Muse is about here and now.
That's my take on the publications I find in South Africa. And I'm going to say that outright. It's like, for me, it's reading a history book. And I don't like reading history books. I like knowing what's going on today.
Well, Modest Muse is about here and now. You are a Muslim woman here trying to implement a religion that stems from the East in Western society. You've got unique challenges. You've got to educate your kids with...
It's a fusion of
It's a fusion of all the challenges you go through. You've got to dress in a certain way, conduct yourself Islamically while upholding maybe corporate Western values. So it's about finding balance. It's about your life here and now, and we're here to assist you in living the best life that you can.
Where do you draw your inspiration from for content? So Is it things that happen around you all the time? Do you have a limitation on the stories that you cover, for example? You see things happening around you that might be of social demonic behavior. Are those stories that we're going to see in Modest Muse, or are we talking more about positivity and lifestyle?
It's definitely more leaning towards positivity and lifestyle. We will cover some global issues, but it's about here and now, the lifestyle that you're living here and now.
How do you see the paper broadening the perspective of Muslim women in Cape Town, and perhaps online, on your online version? We understand that in any society that we go to, people are very blinkered because of things that they are exposed to around in their space. And so when they're exposed to a publication that could show them a little bit about what's happening abroad and that sort of thing, they could open up their perspectives as to different approaches to doing the same thing. Do you see rather the paper playing a role in all of that?
The intent is to do that, Faisal. When I go to masjid, I always notice how men greet each other. There's the handshake and the kiss on both, the 3 kisses on the cheeks.
Yeah, sometimes when the mosque is busy, you do get a bit dizzy with all of that. Yeah.
Now, women, when they come in, they do the salatul, they tahiyatul masjid, and they sit on the one side. They
so you guys don't do the same thing?
We don't do the same thing. So I've observed that there's, not always, but there's a lack of sense of sisterhood and a lack of sense of celebrating other women. And we go through so many challenges, especially when we get married. We sacrifice a lot. We leave our homes to go into our husbands' homes. And there are these challenges that are unspoken. There are celebrations that are unspoken, sacrifices that are unspoken. So what Modest Muse intends to do is to speak about these and create that sense of sisterhood, to say, you know what, we're all going through the same challenges. Let's be there for each other. Let's celebrate each other. Let's empower each other, give each other a voice, and that pat on the back that's so well needed.
I had a look at some of the layouts that you were busy with ahead of publication, and they did look a bit different to me. They did look a bit fresh. They were not what I expected from a normal Islamic publication per se. So I think you, in my view, you're on the right track, and I hope that goes well on your side. Who inspires you to do what you do?
I draw inspiration from many different points. I look at what traditional media is doing, what your magazines, the likes of the Cosmo and the Glamour, and I look at many different publications and see what is inspirational, or what is colorful, or what is amazing to look at, and what would be aesthetically pleasing in a newspaper. This is why this newspaper looks so different to a normal community newspaper.
So we see Cape Town specifically starting off. Are there plans to go anywhere else? We know that we have big Muslim female communities around South Africa, especially in the KZN area and perhaps in the Gauteng area, Lenasia, all those kind of places. And they're probably watching the show now, wondering where they're going to get their coffee. Just to find out that it's not very soon in Johannesburg and in Durban. Do you have plans, and when are those plans coming into place?
Definitely, we're looking at within the next 6 months, inshallah. In order to launch in Cape Town and to establish where to distribute and where the places that Muslims frequent, where they reside, we had to do a little bit of a study on Cape Town. So we're busy conducting the same for KZN, Johannesburg and Eastern Cape. And once we have all our ducks in a row, we'll definitely launch in those areas, inshallah.
Tell us a bit about the content for the first few editions, some of the stories, some of the people that we might come across in the publication.
The content is very real. The people are very unknown. Like I said, this is a platform for everyday women to write their stories. So it's very real. We will cover stuff like postnatal depression, issues in marriage, things that are taboo to be spoken about, like sex, what is okay, what is not. We will cover all issues that women go through that they are too afraid to speak about in company, and the things that they will speak about in company that just need a bit of a louder voice.
So what happens with a guy like me now? I see the publication sitting somewhere. I pick that up as a male. Am I going to feel that this is giving me an insight into, let's check what they're up to, because, the woman normally has all these private meetings where they discuss all kinds of things, and I don't know what seminars you guys have to take over the world and all kinds of things. So is it an insight into all of that, or are there some things for males like myself that says, let me pick this up and see maybe there's something that might interest me? Are there percentages of content for that?
Definitely. It's definitely going to give you insights. It's like a male picking up a fashion magazine, giving you insight into what's trending in, in women's interest. But these travel destinations, there are giveaways,
that's kind of
there are
things I'm looking for,
recipes, because I hope the men are cooking at home. There is Q&A and advice that is general, like how do I ensure that I have khushu during my prayer? There's inspiration and advice that's general as well. There's parenting, our home health and family sections, definitely for the males. And for those that aren't married yet, there's loads of content and it's for everyone. It's what I'm hoping is that Modest Muse reaches the mom and she passes it down to the daughter, and it gets shared, the content gets shared and discussed at home.
How do you feel about your responsibility being the publishing manager, noting the fact that when you put information out there and when information is researched and it's synthesized and it eventually gets into actual publication, people in South Africa still believe one thing, and that is, I saw it on TV, I read it in the paper, so therefore I need to do this, that and the other. So whatever we see in the papers and whatever we listen to on TV becomes the truth and it's real. That's a responsibility for people like yourself. What measures have you put in place, and how do you feel about that to make sure the information that people get is of an authentic nature, and it's of a nature that would develop and evolve them instead?
What I've done is to have a large pool of contributing writers. We've got 3 checks in place before the story hits the.
So there's some level of vetting that goes on.
There is, but also the stories are real and they're raw. So if I've got someone writing about how she healed through Deen on postnatal depression, there really can't be a wrong or a right there. It's that person's journey, and it's advising someone on how to get through it, but I'm not dictating to people. I'm just showing them a positive light.
Correct, yes. The challenges and the attractions of this world that are there based on different age groups. So what might be challenges for an elderly lady and what she might find attractive out of this world is something different, as opposed to a young lady that might see different things being attractive to her and might find different challenges. How do you put that on the spectrum of the timeline of human development, and how do you incorporate that in your content?
I've got my writers age from 18 to 66, so that helps because I get a difference of opinion. I also share articles between the writers and discuss them, and then it's very difficult to find balance because you're not sure exactly how many 16-year-olds versus how many 60-year-olds are going to read the paper, but there are common challenges. So I hope we covered all of them.
And of course, I always maintain that when we do anything for television or radio or media, we need to get to a point where there's something for everybody. Yes. And I think if you have this philosophy of let's put something for everybody, and then you should be achieving the ends of where you want to go with that.
Maybe I should take a step back and say how we outline this content. So we did a study of all the Muslim women in South Africa, what the average age is, where she shops, what she spends, what she likes to eat, what she likes to buy, and we found middle ground, and we are covering that middle ground with a little bit of the peripheral stuff.
But shopping obviously for women is a big thing, am I right?
It's a big thing, and not just shopping for clothing or for herself. The woman we've discovered through this study and research is the matriarch. She's the decision maker. Even the tiles that go in the bathroom, she's deciding on the color. So she influences the husband's purchasing decisions.
So if you agree that shopping is a big thing for women, and that's a big component of your editorial, things that are related to new things on the market and that sort of thing, does this not pose a good opportunity for advertisers to come along and advertise their products? Because I mean, like you're right, a woman does decide what's the tile's going to be, or even the car.
Yes.
So if that's true, people should be advertising in modest
It is a
Muse.
great opportunity because you're reaching the exact market that you want to reach, especially with food stuff, especially around certain religious holidays like Ramadan, Eid. You're reaching the exact market that you want to reach.
Because if you think about this properly, Mushra, it's the woman that really decides what color the house is going to be painted, or she's going to decide what couch
kids
set
are
we're
gonna
going to
wear.
take, what they're going to wear. Yes, you're right. So I think advertisers need to be more tuned into all of that, that you are actually talking to the person in a household that ultimately makes these aesthetic decisions on things. So if you're going to be out there selling clothing, furniture, all those things are applicable to a female buyer.
Definitely. We've also discovered through our studies that these women, although I think it's 30% of them are marked as at-home moms, they're not at home doing nothing. They run little businesses on the side. They sell things. They do things like Herbalife, Avon. So they've got expendable income, and they drive the house economically. Most of them are share the household responsibility 50-50. So they are decision makers. They've got expendable income, so they need to be spoken to.
Competitions, that sort of thing, where are you sitting with that?
We definitely, as with the online magazine, we had a giveaway once a week. We had big brands like Nivea giving away hampers, so we will continue to do that in the paper.
Distribution, is there a cost attached to your readers or not?
There's absolutely no cost. The intent was that this community is content starved. We need content. We need it packaged in a way that speaks to us, and so there's no cost to the reader.
I know certain regions in Cape Town are getting to the door delivered copies, and whilst others might get their copy at certain selected stores or places of interest that they might find that. Is that a model that might go around nationally as you get there, that certain target and focused areas will receive a copy delivered to the postbox?
Definitely. We've looked at, there are 9 areas in Cape Town that have 60% or more Muslim residents, and in those areas we're delivering door to door, and we're going to use the same distribution model in KZN, Joburg and Eastern Cape.
So I'm somebody that might be interested in reading what the paper's about, and I see the paper lying on a desk somewhere. Give me one reason why I should become a Modest Muse fan.
There's no other publication like it at the moment. So you're going to find something in there that you haven't seen before.
Modest Muse as the name, as the last question. I always found it fairly interesting, I must admit. I get the modest part, I get the muse part. Tell us a bit about the title and why.
One of the best characteristics of believing men and women is that of modesty, and that's in hadith. So the term modesty comes from that it needs to be a part of your character as a believing woman, but it doesn't. You don't need to be modest and be oppressed. There's this thinking around the world that women in hijab or Muslim women are oppressed. They're meant to be staying at home, looking after the kids, and they don't think for themselves. They don't make any decisions for themselves. So Modest Muse is showing that we are absolutely not that type of woman. We are believing women. We've got modesty as part of our character, but we are inspirational and we're doing phenomenal things. And we can inspire not only other Muslim women, but non-Muslim women as well.
Mushra, thank you very much. I think from that last line we can obviously see that Modest Muse is there to celebrate women, their achievements, their developments and their growth at the same time. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Faizal.
Well, you can visit the website. The details is on the screen. Modest Muse has hit the shelves, and I think there's something for everybody and every woman out there that's interested in what the latest fashion might be, the latest stories, tips on health, lifestyle, and more. Until next time, thank you for joining us. Goodbye.